Welcome to RGBA, where we cover new gadgets, technology news, and discuss their impact on our lives with the occasional coffee and productivity discussion. This is episode number 23. My name is Alexandre Valliere-Lagacé, and I'm joined by my co-host, Dario Renard. This week, we discuss acquisition, sapphire, and exploding replacements. This has been talked a lot this week. Twitter is supposedly up for sale. Somebody might be interested in buying it. We heard rumors of Google, Apple, Disney, and a couple more. What do you think would happen with that? Will Twitter eventually be sold by some company, or will they have to manage by themselves?
I think they're going to be sold. I hope it doesn't go to like somebody that's just going to take them and take the talent and try to switch it into something else, because Twitter is really useful to me personally. If it's a media company, that'd be weird.
Yeah, because usually Twitter is used by medias, but all of them, and not just a single one. So will that impact the usability, or will it be like not used by competitors because they don't want to promote like somebody else's tool?
Because if you watch any news show like CNN or whatever, all the people, the newscast, they all have at and their Twitter handle. It's the way to reach them is always their Twitter handle. So it'd be kind of weird if it be owned by a big media company.
And all the TV shows have their own hashtag. So given that nowadays it's going to be used for Facebook and other networks, but initially it was really just Twitter based. So they kind of started that. So I don't think it's going to be purchased by a company who will, like you say, take the talent, because the big selling point of Twitter is the number of users and what you can sell to these users in terms of advertisement. Is it because Twitter was not able to properly display ads or properly target their audiences? As you know, we rarely got ads in Canada. It's mostly in the States. So is that an untapped market, or is there like really so much more people in the US that it's not even worth it to consider every other countries? So I think that's the big chunk of the value of Twitter is the number of active users and how you can monetize those users. So if a company were to purchase Twitter and keep the development team, but fire everybody in the marketing, close the service, or rename the service something else, they would lose the brand. They would lose probably the only way of monetizing that quickly, which is all the advertisement. So it has to be somebody who's going to be able to use that, or has some super nifty idea of how to spin it and make it throw up money.
And who's in the running now, according to rumors? Disney, Google?
There was Disney, but Disney says no, and somebody else. The source, I don't know who reported it. I don't know if it's Recode or New York Times or something, but they reported that no, they really were in talks, so it was serious. Will it go through? I don't know. Other than that, I think Disney was the biggest contender right now. The tech companies, apart from Google, I don't think it's going to make sense. Apple, there's no point. Google, yes, because they have problems. They always had problems with Google Plus. So having another network would be a good thing. But that's about it. So makers of Siri, the team of researchers who actually made the very first Siri app, which was a standalone app in the App Store a couple of years ago, were acquired by Apple. They left, I think it was about 18 months after the acquisition, and started their new thing, which was called VIV, which is basically the next level assistant. And now we learned this week that Samsung actually purchased Viv. So a second acquisition for these guys. So it's pretty good for them. And finally, Samsung is kind of like the last standing big name that did not have any personal AI assistant technology. So by integrating that technology in their devices in the future, they will be able to better compete against the Google and Apple of this world.
This is pretty good coming after the big announcements of Google Assistant for the for the Google Pixel phone that we're going to talk about later.
Yeah, it's very good for them. It makes sense. They were pitching the Viv as a single button to be placed on every device. That was like kind of their marketing strategy, which makes no sense. So it was probably intentionally built to be purchased eventually. So that was a fun part of that. The way that they were saying they were going to revolutionize the world with a new button on all of their device. But, like either hardware manufacturers or software developers will not integrate such buttons in their apps or on their device. So it was pretty obvious that they were just trying to get acquired.
But this is, like you said, the second time they do this, right?
Yeah.
This team.
The first time it was mostly app based, so it was an app in the App Store. But this time it was not. Well, it was more proposed as the framework. So kind of like the 1Password button you can add in your apps when you want to you have a login page, so that you from your own app you open 1Password to get your password. Well, this would be the same kind of thing. So there would be like a text field, and there would be like a Viv button on the right. You just press the button, and it would either help you fill it out or fetch whatever information you have on the system to fill the information. So on the iOS side of things, this week we heard issues with iPhone activation lock being triggered on the wrong device and even have the wrong Apple ID. People were starting to complain. It was not necessarily just iPhone 7 or 7 Plus, but it was also older phones. I heard of Merlin Man who got his wife's replacement unit from the Apple Store, and just going out the Apple Store, it asked for an iTunes password, which was not his iCloud account, because they usually show you like a few letters. So, and he had to go back and get another one. So wait another week to get a replacement. And I think I heard also of 6S's having the same problem. So that's quite problematic, because that feature is the one that is used to safeguard your iPhones from thieves, so that they cannot be able to reuse the phone afterwards unless it's deactivated properly and then somebody else reactivates it. But for replacement units and even brand new units, there's a brand new here example with a jet black iPhone 7 Plus. It was perfect, but it was asking to be activated with an iCloud account that was not the person's iCloud account.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, that's very weird. Seems to be like scary. A server. Yeah, but it's probably just a server-side bug. So worst case scenario, Apple gets all those devices back, fixes the bug server-side, and then eventually it all comes back as it should. But given that the launch is fairly recent and it affects even older device, it's probably not a device problem. It's probably really just a server-side issue. Remember during the iOS 10 beta, we had this little warning that when launching very old apps, that they were making the phone slow because they were not 64 bits compiled.
I never saw any, but I remember hearing about it, that the end of 32 bits are dead.
I have a very old alarm clock app that I use, which was from the iPhone 5 era. And I got the warning, like, not every time you launch the app, but maybe every time you force shut down the app and relaunch it. So, and out of nowhere, in the middle of the beta, it just went away. I was not seeing this little alert anymore. But now it seems that iOS 10.1 brings it back. So will that be released? Or is this just something for developers to nag and to kind of force them to update their apps so that their users will not see this kind of message?
How hard is it to recompile the app to 64-bit?
Seriously, I don't think it's very hard. I personally have a very old app that was last compiled in 2012, So I should try to just open the project in Xcode, recompile. Now that also that Xcode tries in big air quotes to help you fix issues, so it shouldn't be too hard for me to just recompile it. But then again, just recompiling it and just sending it to the App Store, yes, it will probably be a little bit better, but yeah, I don't know if I'll do it. That wouldn't change my backend and everything, so it shouldn't be a problem per se. Okay, so yeah, so I'll do this as a homework for next week.
It's gonna be follow up.
Yeah, follow up for next week. I'm going to recompile my ConsumNet app, which is an app that helps you keep an eye on your internet package consumption, so that you don't go overhead and you don't have to pay all those fees. Nowadays, it's getting less and less useful because there's more and more unlimited plans, but there's still a lot of people, and I get about 2,000 sessions per week, so it's quite used, and people really refer to it like regularly. So it wouldn't be nice for me if that app get that little ConsumNet may slow down your iPhone. The developer of these apps need to update it to improve its compatibility. So
And all your users are gonna start complaining to you on Twitter.
yeah, well, I always have complaints, especially on the Android side of things.
Okay.
So because it's like that's where you see that the ecosystem is a big problem on the Android side. Is over the last, what is it, like 5 years, I had so many crashes on Android, but I would say that maybe like 80% of those were all on different devices, because you get the internal name of the device on the crash report, and there's like so many of them that I would not even be able to diagnose it, and most of the times it's like a very like fatal error that is probably not even linked to my app. It's just that Android crash or whatever, and my app was like not maybe the instigator or maybe just the victim of, but it was not very easy to track down. I tried it a few times with the crashes I had on Nexus devices. I was able to get those for reviews for my tech blogging needs in the past, so I used them to debug those issues, but it never went anywhere. So, and on the iOS side, I think I got like 2 crashes in the last 5 years. So it's not something I really look at, since it's pretty stable, and especially that the app itself is not very complex. It shouldn't crash at all. But anyways, on Android, it's just a big problem. I stumbled across a video this week that was quite interesting from, let me see who that person is.
He's the test guy.
Yeah, it's a test guy.
Test guy.
Yeah.
I forget his name.
It's Jerry Rig everything. So
Right.
He has a YouTube channel and he tests and he like plays with different devices. He has also lots of tools. So he was wondering how come you see some shots of the iPhones with their lenses being scratched, as they're supposed to be made of sapphire. So he started very simply by using a tool that is rated with each of the levels of the
Hardness
scale, yeah. So from 1 to 10, and usually sapphire should be like a 9. So anything below a 9 shouldn't be able to scratch it. But a 6, a 7, and an 8 all scratch the lens. So he's right off the bat saying that's not sapphire. Apple said it's sapphire, but it's not. So he tries with a Tissot watch, which is a watch with a sapphire glass. Same thing, and it goes all the way up to 9. So it works fine. So why is sapphire A and sapphire B not the same thing? So then that's where the interesting thing happened, is that he does not stay there and be done with it, post a video, make another gate thingy. He actually goes to university and he uses like molecular microscopes and all those kind of high tools that are like $1 million each to test exactly what's the composition of the iPhone glass, the lens glass, also what's on the underside, on the outside, and basically it's not black or white. You should watch the video for the details, but basically they're all sapphires, but they're not the equal sapphires. So, Apple most likely coats his glass with sapphire, but it's not the same thing as the sapphire from a Tissot watch. And also there's impurities, which are probably the resulting case of mass production of that so such a large number of device, and these TISO watch has like basically no impurities, and also it's not black and white, so depending on the manufacturing process, you can have more or less of each elements, and that also makes a difference. It's not just like 50-50. It's basically I think the TISO was about like 10% difference between the two main elements, but the iPhone lens is like less than that, so that also affects the hardness. So yeah, basically just watch it. It's very interesting. It's kind of like those their bend gate videos, but not the one that people use their hands, but they actually use a machine with a like a
crushing tool.
yeah, like the machine had like a screen and the number of pounds of pressure it was applying to the iPhone. So you could see that the iPhone 6 was like bending at, I don't remember exactly, maybe like 60 pounds. But then when they got the 6S, they tried the same thing and it was like 90 pounds. So almost twice as hard.
Pipe usually or stuff like that, bend metal.
Yeah, it's testing tools. It's just like if you put out some, like you said, like a pipe or a rod or a nail or whatever, and you have to test it to conform to such and such specifications, you use that kind of tool to make sure it's not bending before it should. And that was fun for the iPhone because you could like actually see like a scientific number attached to the bendability of the phone. And now it's the same thing with the sapphire glass. So the video will be in the show notes, so that will be fun.
And in other news, Apple discontinued the Apple TV 3.
No,
so it's been, I think it's been on sale for 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years usually.
It's basically the same thing as the Apple TV 2, but
4
it's supported.
Years. It was released in 2012.
Right. Oh man, it's even older than I thought. It's the same thing as the Apple TV 2, but it supported 1080p.
Yeah.
So it was like the iPad 3 of Apple TVs.
Yes, and even with the recent release of the 4th gen, the 3rd gen was still on sale for like $59.
And now I think it's still available through a refurbished store.
Okay, yeah.
But that's it. So I guess they're going to run out soon.
Yeah, just going down the remaining stock, and then it will just be a part of the history.
And it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean Apple's going to release a new Apple TV in the October event. It's just old and we're getting rid of it.
Yeah, they just had like remaining stock and they just got through it. So
I hope they didn't do the same for the Thunderbolt display, just killing off the display and not releasing anything else.
This week we had not an iPhone event, but it was a Google event. So Google announced and presented a bunch of new devices. Most interesting, I would say, is, well, basically there was not much software announcement. It was, I think they only mentioned like Android 7.2 like twice in the whole conference. It was mostly a hardware related event. So there are now new Pixel phones. So the Nexus brand is dead. So the cheap, like affordable phones are now discontinued, and this is like the new main device for Google, which is an high-end device that is in the price range of the iPhones and the Galaxy S7. So you got two models, one regular and one large, and which they call the XL. Then there was the Daydream headset. So it's a VR headset that is made of fabric, which looks very comfortable. There's the Google Home Assistant that was already... Was it the Google Home Assistant? What was it called? Yeah, Google Home.
Yeah, Google Home.
Which was announced a while back, but now it's refined. There's more fabric on the exteriors. There's different metal colors. And do we have a date for that?
Yeah. I don't know, but it was previewed at I/O this summer, and now this is the official release.
Exactly. So it's for $129. You'll be able to get it on November 4th, and you'll get even 6-month free trial of YouTube Red. So if you want to watch YouTube with no ads,
it's Google's equivalent to the Amazon Echo.
Yeah, exactly. The Daydream will be $79, also launching in November. There's no specific date, but it's coming soon. I'm not sure if it's going to be working very well with all the devices, but it seems to be a perfect fit for the for the new Pixel phones.
Oh, I thought it was
And
only for the Pixel phone, the Daydream.
well, I think it's like the Google Cardboard, so it's basically for any phone. But usually the larger phone, like the iPhone 6 Plus or the larger Galaxy phones, were better matched because you could see like a bigger screen, a bigger image. So, but these, what I heard from people who were at the event, is that they only had the Pixel XL installed in those headsets. So I'm not even sure if it's compatible with the regular version. And the Pixel phone seems to be a powerful phone, has a Snapdragon processor, 4 gigs of RAMs. There's a 1440 by 2560 resolution. It's an AMOLED display, so color should be good. And they also joked that it even has an iPhone jack, a headphone jack. So
Yeah, they had a couple of jabs at Apple.
yeah, well, that's how usually Android stuff goes. They just try to take jabs like once in a while. The weird thing was that they actually used the XO mark rating for in their marketing materials, like that the camera on the Pixel phone is so good that it's better than the iPhone cameras, and because of the XO mark rating. So, for those of you who do not know, in the camera world, we usually use the XO system of rating to compare lenses, especially on the sharpness side. So let's say you're looking to buy a specific lens. It's not too expensive, so you just want to make sure that it's not going to be like a low quality lens. You usually refer to this kind of charts to know exactly with your camera, with the specific lens, what is the sharpness, what is the total score of the lens, and you can compare it with other kinds of lens, either from the same manufacturer or for other manufacturer. So it's basically, I use it like as a shopping tool to compare lenses. So they now started to do the same thing with smartphones, and they gave an 89 rate for the Pixel phone camera. They even say that it's better than the iPhone, but the iPhone 7 and not the 7 Plus, because they still did not release their iPhone 7 Plus rating. So it seems kind of fishy because they did it for the 7, and why not for the 7 Plus, where they paid to like push a little bit for later the iPhone 7 review, just so that they can use that in their marketing materials. All this is pretty fishy for me. Should be available very soon. I think it's also in November that it's being released.
The phone, yeah.
Yeah. So
It comes
32
in 3
gigs.
colors too.
Yeah. 32 gigs and 128 gigs.
Did you see the shape of it?
You mean like if it's a wedge shape?
Yeah, it's basically shaped as a wedge.
Yeah, because in the specs you can see that the thickness has a number, then a tilde, and then another number.
It's like a door stopper.
Yeah, but it's like tenths of a millimeters. So what I'm thinking is that because of the lens, they didn't want to get like a camera bump, so they raised it like by maybe a few tenths of a millimeter or 1 millimeter, just to get it like in the case. But the rest of the phone is like a little slimmer, but it's so small. I don't think you'll even be able to see it with your eyes.
See, in the hands-on, you see it looks pretty. It looks pretty big. The difference.
Oh yeah.
I wonder. We're gonna see when we have it in our hands, but people were using it in the hands-on area, and it looked like I don't know. It all depends of the weight. If it's heavier on top, it's gonna feel weird. But other than that, it's a pretty cool design to not have a camera bump.
Yeah, the difference is 1.2 millimeters. So yes, you can definitely see it, but I'm hoping that there's no weight problem, because usually the battery is installed like from top to bottom to maximize the space, and that's the heaviest thing in the phone. So it's gonna balance it properly, I think.
And also, they brought back glass in the back of a phone, so I hope that's tough glass.
Yeah, that design with half metal, half glass is not popular with everyone. I can see why, but they tried something different, and that's always good. The only part that is kind of cheap is that they use the antenna bands like the iPhone 6 on the bottom, so it's like
exactly
so close.
The same bands.
Yeah.
But there's a big piece of glass on top, so I don't know why they had to have the antenna bands.
Yeah. Well, on top, yeah, but there's actually antennas all around the phone, because when you hold the phone next to your ear, the antennas on the top have worse reception than the ones on the bottom. So that's why when you had like little antennas on your phones, a couple decades ago, you
Yeah,
had to pull out the antenna so it reaches further from your head. That was the reason.
because her head is a big interference thing, right?
Yeah, water absorbs electromagnetic waves.
And
So
our
you're,
heads are full of water.
yep, exactly. What else was there? Yeah, the Google Wi-Fi. That thing is interesting. I'm surprised we haven't seen that before. The point of the device is that it's actually, instead of having one big router that covers your house, you have a 3-pack of smaller router that you place around your house so that you can cover the whole area. And it works the same way as the Hero, EERO, which is the same kind of thing that's been selling for like a year, I think. But now it's Google, so it's $129 for one, and a 3-pack for $300. And they usually, I think it's about one per 1,000 square feet. So if you have like a big, like 3 stories house, you could probably use 2 or 3 to cover the whole thing. This should have been released a long time ago. This is the kind of thing that could have been a lot more useful in the days of the 802.11n. But nowadays, if you have like a powerful router, it's kind of hard to not reach everywhere in your house. Personally, I've tried a bunch of the Linksys, and the reception is good everywhere, even from the basement all the way to the second floor. I'm currently have an Apple Extreme, also works super fine. I could probably get a better signal, but the price is like more expensive than a Google router and an Apple router. So to get like a maybe 10 or 20% increase, I don't see, in my case, I don't see it pretty useful. The only type of scenarios when I think this would make sense is for people with like, those kind of house where you have like a main house and like a smaller house attached to it for like your aging parents or something. These kind of house usually are super wide or super long, and in these cases, I know a few people who had or have some of those houses, and they actually need a repeater in the middle to actually like reach the whole house. So that would exactly be the kind of scenarios that the Google Wi-Fi would be good at.
They also released a new Chromecast with
Yep.
support for 4K, and it's supposed to be faster and everything.
Yeah, this year will be the year of 4K for all those little devices. I went to the Roku Media event a couple weeks ago, and they had a whole lineup of 4K compatible devices. Now Chromecast, the only one that's missing that is the Apple TV. So, and I don't think it's going to be released soon. Apple was quite slow to adopt the 1080p, so it would be the same thing with the 4K. Probably the next Apple TV, but not until next year. Maybe next fall or something.
Unless they do the same thing they did with the Apple TV 3. It's the same exact thing, except it supports.
Yeah.
I don't know how long the gap was between Apple TV 2 and Apple TV 3, but I think it was pretty short.
Okay. So like they did not announce it; they just released it, and that was it.
Yeah, look, it was September 1st, 2010, the Apple TV 2,
Okay.
and then March 7th, 2012. So
Okay.
a
So
little less than 2 years.
okay.
It's the same specs except for 1080p support. Maybe a better processor, but I think it was pretty much it.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, they could do that also, because the rest of the device is pretty nice. I don't have any performance problem with it or anything. So
Right.
So that would not be a regular week without some kind of app being pulled. We seem to have this every week nowadays. So, but this time, for once, I really don't think it should have been the case. I don't know if you're a developer, you probably know that app Dash, which is an API documentation browser, was pulled from the App Store. The developer was taken with its pen down. He didn't know why. He asked Apple, and the reason was fraudulent conduct. So basically, they said that he was tampering with the review system, either by purchasing reviews or whatever. He was surprised. Everybody was surprised. This is not the kind of app that was recently launched. It's been there for many years. It's popular by itself. It always had great reviews because it's a useful app. That is weird. Everything he was able to get from Apple was that this was a final decision and cannot be appealed. So his Apple developer account was closed, and his app was pulled from the stores.
It's pretty concerning because they didn't they didn't show any proof. They didn't show anything. They just said, we have reasons to close your account. Your account is closed.
Yeah. I think also he was trying to move the app from a personal account to a business account.
Right. He was trying to do that at the same time, and then he got the notice that his app was taken down, or even his account was closed, I think.
Yes, everything was closed and terminated, and there's no appeal possible. So what he did also, he contacted Phil Schiller by email, hoping to maybe have an exec look into that and see if they made a mistake or something. And he got a response, basically that Phil Schiller looked into the situation, and it was removed due to repeated fraudulent activity. So something fishy was going on, and that's the final word. There's nothing they can do. So
unless they sent him proof or evidence of his things, and he doesn't want to release it. It's the only.
Yes, that's the other side of things. But
he's been so transparent, though, that it'd be weird if he actually had problems. He wouldn't have released it like this if it was his fault, in quotes.
Yes, but did he really needed that? Like, the app was already being used by millions of people, and it was appreciated. So,
and also, there's not really any competition. So there's nobody really that would have. You can say, "Oh, I have a competitor that tried to sabotage my app, so he's making fake reviews or something." But there's not really any competition
for now, unless there are ones
unless
that
there's someone coming up, and then this was their entrance.
Yeah, because what could have happened is that somebody paid like those services to get fake reviews for him, and without him being aware of it. So then they would tamper with the App Store rating system, and his app would be pulled. But he was probably not the instigator of that request. So that is pretty scary for developers who actually make their living out of their apps. I don't think that it would be. It doesn't put like a good climate on the App Store if you can just, for let's say like $200, purchase 500 reviews from a company in China or in Indonesia to rate your app with 5 stars, and then you can do that to your competitor. So it costs you only $200, less than an ad campaign, and you have a very nice, clear spot that you can now promote your own app instead of your competitors that was pulled. So that's scary. Yeah. After all the kerfuffle with the Samsung Note 7 phones exploding, catching fires, everything, we now have replacement units that have actually specific little marking on the box and a green battery icon on the device itself that tells you that your phone is a replacement unit. So it has hardware and software, hopefully, that is different and that fix the problem. But the problem is that it's not fixed. So we had an incident in an airplane that was about to take off where the gentleman was asked by the flight attendant to close his phone because it was a Note 7. And he said, "No, it's fine. It's the new one." So he did comply. He closed the phone, put it in his pocket. And then there was smoke starting to come out of his pocket. And he started to feel the burn. So he removed it, put it on the ground, and the phone caught fire. It actually burned through the rug itself and went into, I think it's like there's like some kind of like 2-level floors or whatever. So basically it fell down deeper in the plane. So they had to evacuate the plane, and they just rescheduled the plane for everyone. And then you would say that's only one incident, so it could be an error. But actually, I think we're now at 5 incident. This morning, The Verge published a post that it's the 5th time this happens, and it doesn't seem to stop. All 5 incidents were made since early September, all with replacement units. And now they're saying that Samsung should basically pull the phone and stop selling it. There is a problem, though, with that, is that when they started their recall in, I think it was early August, the way that they handled it supposedly is not the right way to do it with the US government. There's a consumer protection agency that actually has to manage that for you, or actually do the communication and all. And they went ahead without their approval, so that gave them like a big slap on the hand. And now this time they're just saying that they're looking into it, and they're looking into it with the this agency at the same time.
SCCA, I think.
Isn't like the CPCA or Consumer Protection or something?
Something C. But this is all happening in the United States. There's no reports of it in Canada or Europe or...
Yes, usually, you know why? Because Samsung makes different phones in Asia and Europe and in the US. There's usually is not the same CPU. There's also other hardware differences usually between phones. I remember a few years ago, I think it was when they were making their own like competitors to the Nexus. One of the years that Samsung was not the maker of the Nexus, they had like a super high-end version, which like with like a 1080p screen in Asia, but only a 720p screen in the US. So it's probably the same kind of problem this year, is that the Note 7 has probably CPU A in North America and CPU B in Asia, and maybe different CPUs require different batteries. So only those in the US are getting
because I found that
fired.
weird, because the US is kind of known for these big lawsuit gates and whatever you want to call them. So it was
That will be coming for sure.
Right. There's
That's for sure.
certainly going to be a lawsuit or anything, because you can sue for anything in the United States.
Yeah. The agency is the Consumer Product Safety Commission, so the CPSC. So that's the one that actually broadcasts recalls and stuff like that. So, but at least on the carriers in the US are actually taking back every Note 7 that you have, and you can buy like any replacement phone for it, like any other models. So there's no like problems on that side. They just went ahead without Samsung's approval, if you want, and just bring them back in. We're gonna get something else for you.
And I think so. Yeah, AT&T, right?
All of them, Verizon
them?
also. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all on the same boat for that. So that's pretty nice.
This is pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't think it can be really worse. So, yeah. I even saw that in they did like a little mud to GTA 5, where instead of throwing like sticky
Grenades.
bombs,
Yeah.
you were throwing up Samsung Note 7s, and yeah, that when this gets into mainstream like that, it's pretty bad. There's even people that are saying that they should actually like cancel the whole brand of Note devices, stop selling it, redesign it, and sell something with a different name next year. Like, just don't touch it anymore. It's now poop.
Yeah, everything that's going to come with Note is going to come with the big asterisk. Is it going to blow up?
Well, when planes are taking off and they're saying to close your device, and especially Note 7, and now I think they're even, when they call you on the
boarding?
Yeah, when the boarding call comes in on the speakers, it actually says, please go to gate 7. And if you have a Galaxy Note 7, please close it right away before you board the plane. So when it's getting to that level of awareness from everybody, and especially the safety related situations, there's no exit. There's no pretty exit from that.
But I was flying out from France, so there's not even any cases in Europe yet, or not that we've heard of. And the guy's security asked us both if we have a Galaxy Note 7. I said no. He's like, okay, but because they've been catching fire lately. I was like, yeah. I've heard. It's like, okay, thank you. Move along.
Yeah. No,
there was a question. Part of where are you going? Where are you coming from? And one of the questions was, do you have a Galaxy Note 7?
When your phone is in the same boat as mad cow disease, it's never a good thing.
Yeah. Have you visited a farm lately?
Yeah, exactly. Have you handled the Galaxy Note 7? Yes. Please step aside, sir.
Please, you have to queue up in this line, please.
Yeah. So this was episode number 23. You can find the show notes at RGBA.fm, all the social networks, all the different ways to listen to the app. Basically, you can listen to it on iTunes, Google Play, Overcast, Pocket Cast, TuneIn, Player FM, RSS feed. I even added Stitcher recently, but it's not on the site yet. So if you're a Stitcher user, you can also add RGBA. Just do a search for it, and you'll find it. The show notes will be on rgba.fm/23. I hope you have a good week. So see you next time.
See you next week.